Okay, actually we've got a lot of packages to open, 4 of them, so I'm dividing this up in a certain way. There's a little method to this madness, because that is not technically anime, but it is relevant to anime fans. It's the Attack on Titan Blu-ray DVD live action release. I'm not sure if it'll actually be good, but I figured I would give it a shot. So I'm kind of curious. It didn't. I'm not sure what to think about the Titans. Some of them actually looked nice and creepy, but others did not. In here we have X-Men Apocalypse, which I was actually considering maybe not getting, but I have to admit the new Quicksilver scene is actually pretty awesome. And you can see here Thundercats Season 2 Volume 2, which I purchased because disc 4 of the one I got wasn't reading right, and I just want to figure out what I'm going to do by buying another one. And you know, technically disc 10 is the 4th one because it's looks like it might be better, so I'll have to play with that on my own. Otherwise, let's see. First, we got this package, which has my address on both sides. So we're going to open sideways like this. Get Code Geass Seasons 1 and 2 plus stuff. And open this box. What are even some of these? And then finally we will add to this pile with this, and very quickly note the Kanojo Blu-ray. Warning, this is absolutely not for children because this is actually hentai. Actually, it's this that kind of stuff. I guess it kind of is. I'm not going to look too more closely in the off chance it's really raunchy. And let's this table seems to be a little on the unstable side, but let's go through it, beginning with Tekkaman Blade 2. Yeah, there we go, that is a 2. This is the complete OVA collection on Blu-ray. I thought I might be wanting to do this. Let's get the old nail clipper out. So I can feel the separation in the sticker. So we are going to open it from the back like this. Let's move that over onto Reimu and take a peek on the inside. Simple enough. It's got one of those. Default open, unlike Sentai's stuff. Let's see. Audio Japanese, subtitles English. Looking at the bottom here, oh, there we go. It says Region A right there. Doesn't have the Region A symbol though. I wonder. Then we got Plastic Memories Volume 2. Here we go. The that thing. So let's begin by getting a full look at the artwork, even though there's nothing about this that would make me think that the artwork was particularly notable under there. A well-designed Blu-ray case would, or case I guess in general, wouldn't cover up some of the cool stuff, I think. So before we go into the disc, since these were on the bottom, we got your standard proof of purchase. We got some postcards. I think that artwork's familiar. It feels kind of thick, so there's probably a good handful in there, I guess. And we've got the Blu-ray itself. Who are these people again? Some of them I remember. So we got disc 1, and that should probably say disc 2. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see in the light, but the camera can pick it up. Next up, we've got Quick 7, the complete series. This is a Discotek release, and I think I might have actually downloaded the first episode of this a long time ago. I'm not exactly sure, because the name doesn't mean much to me. It just, I think it's that thing. I would probably have to watch it to make sure, and I've just got too many things to watch to say I'm definitely going to prioritize it. What does it say down here? Japanese with English subtitles. The video is 4:3, which means it is probably around that time frame. Oh, that said the number of episodes right there, didn't it? 13 episodes on 2 discs. Oh, darn it. I'm so careful to check for that on the other Discotek release. Actually, I'm not seeing Eastern Star down here. Is the other one Discotek and Eastern Star as well, or no? So there's a Filmworks, Discotek, Eastern Star. So they're not exactly synonymous, but it seems like they have been up until now. It's just a strange observation. Or is that Eastern Star right there? Come on, camera, focus on it. Focus, focus. Yeah, that's Eastern Star. 2 discs. I'm guessing these are probably the stronger female leads, narrative-wise. Let's see. Next up, we've got Suit V Gundam or Gundam V Collection 1. I don't know. As you can see, ouch. It's Sunrise. I guess Sunrise has been distributing these now. There's Right Stuff there. Because yeah, I was kind of going into a trade that, well, not exactly a trade, but a tangent that a coworker, of course, didn't care about how there's just so much Gundam stuff coming out now that it's kind of hard to keep track of all of it. I don't consider that a bad thing. Just more like an observation. There's probably, I can't read it, Hecho in Mexico. Okay. And we have it here on Blu-ray. We're going to open both up because we're, of course, exploring both at the same time. Oh, interesting. I'll show you just a little bit. Nothing too spectacular, but given how it's mostly easy to find the region coding stuff on certain releases, but I can see the A right there, so this is region A. Japanese audio, or audio is Japanese, subtitles in English, of course. That's expected. How new or old is this Gundam? No, this shouldn't be that much different. We're just kind of curious about the artwork. It looks like the first discs are the same. Second disc of the Blu-ray and the third disc of the DVD, so this one's unique to the DVD. And then the final discs, disc 3 of the Blu-ray, 5 of the DVD, are the same, and disc 4 is unique to the DVD version. Does this say anywhere on it? Yeah, right there. The 1 means it's a region 1. So those are our regions. We've got another Gundam. I don't know if there's a DVD companion to it. I didn't think there was, but I needed to check anyways. And there could be. It's just if there is, I missed it. Ow. This is the new era begins. Now, which new era? Because that's like every Gundam, or every other Gundam, or something like that. Pretty much. Nah, I don't know. Because they continue some series. Sometimes maybe it feels unwelcome. I guess it depends on how much Gundam is your cup of tea. But let's look at the back of this, because we see the region A, that's expected. The audio is Japanese, English, and French subtitles. And if I could actually read this, is this Gundam G Reconguista in G? Yes, I don't know. I just buy them. I don't necessarily know. That's the problem with being a collector, is it's nice to know things, but since I'm not really collecting the contents of these so much as I'm collecting the releases themselves. Let's just make sure this isn't different. This is a Funimation release, I think. Yeah, I didn't process it too carefully, just it felt Funimation. We got region A, English with Japanese stereo. So it looks like this is a Blu-ray special features, have Japanese and English. That's probably interview sort of stuff. But it looks like this is basically Japanese with English subtitles. This is another one of those, I wouldn't say rare, but pretty uncommon Funimation releases. Not a bad thing, just an observation. In fact, if they normally wouldn't bring it over if it was dubbed, I kind of appreciate the fact that it got released anyways. Even if it's kind of a piece of crap and I might never watch it. This is my collector inside talking. So, this is DVD. These two black ones should be DVD. DVD 1, DVD 2. Then we got the harder to see Blu-rays. You can see my reflection more than anything. Blu-ray 1. And another loose Blu-ray disc. But Blu-ray is a much more tenacious format. Blu-ray 2. Jinsei Life Consulting. I don't know. Could be good. Could be bad. Oh, look. Next we have Recan! Exclamation point. Oh, I think I've seen something. Like maybe I saw an advertisement for this or something. Certainly looks interesting with all the ghosts kind of floating around. Doesn't necessarily mean it's good, but does mean that there's a possibility of fun shenanigans, oot and a boot. Got our standard Hentai release, so that's closed. And then going a bit quicker because with these things, because so let's see. I guess on the inside, are those horns or is that a ribbon? It kind of looks like both. And that's green eyes and that's orangish eyes, so if it's the same person, it's... I'm gonna say that, but she has either ears or another kind of ribbon, which I don't see on here if that's her. It's rather confusing. Oh, I didn't notice that. Because, no, what did, maybe not. I don't know. Might be nothing. Looks like disc 1 and disc 2 have the same arts. Disc 3 is completely unique to this DVD version. I don't know. I think understanding this one may require watching it. And of course I'm going to do the thing that I skipped doing, which is, no you don't. Take a look at the back. It's region A, it's Japanese and English subtitles only. I think I noticed that stuff before, but pointing it out on camera is I think a worthwhile experience just because not all of y'all are... Next up we've got Strike Witches the movie, which should be interesting to revisit this franchise. Looking on the back, Region A, English and Japanese, winning the war with a magic touch. So I guess it is up to us to insert the obvious humorous catchphrase from the previous which war? The war on pants, of course. Well, I'm sure it's supposed to sound a little perverted. Anyways, simple enough. DVD version, Blu-ray version, and a simple sky backdrop. That's nice. Next we got A Town Where You Live, which I didn't find any DVD versions, I guess. Audio is Japanese with English subtitles, Region A. And as you can see, this one looks like it's a Nozomi, so it's released by Right Stuff under their publishing label. And I don't know much about the contents. It's definitely a curiosity. And last but not least, we have a Code Geass on Blu-ray finally. Something else attached here. Well, first things first, Region A, which is probably not surprising because Region B has had Code Geass on Blu-ray for a long time. We've got Japanese and English audio, which we would expect. So, what am I trying to do here? Because this is a different sort of packaging than I normally see, especially since this is probably Funimation. Yeah. It's got some good weight to it, so considering I don't see much in the way of books, probably means there's a healthy amount of discs. Or what is this? Oh yeah, 16 art cards. These must be those 16 art cards. Let's see if they're not in a bag. Oh, I don't think they're in a bag. They're also kind of thick. This is probably contributing quite a bit of weight. How very clamped. Well, I think I'll turn these around so that I can put these back in. Does Colin ever wear that little clothing? I don't know. This looks familiar. I'm wondering if this was an ending title card or something like that. I think I might have skipped the ending a whole lot for this series. But this is some very, very clamped artwork. This picture makes Table Coon weep. Interesting. I know I don't usually go through them, but this time they kind of made it easy by not having me remove any plastic. The box feels a little unstable that they came in, but I think if I just seal it like this, set it aside, then we can just focus our attention on the actual Blu-ray itself. I'm assuming this is Blu-ray only. I'm just trying to think, because you got Code Geass Lelouch of the Rebellion, which would be the first season. That does say Blu-ray 01, right? The black is Blu-ray 2, Blu-ray 3, and of course one of the Blu-ray discs out of its holding. Blu-ray 4. So that's 4 discs for the first season. I'm trying to remember the quality of the video. Like, what did that come out late enough that these would be more than just an upscale? I wouldn't be surprised if that's possible, just because the Blu-ray release in the Europe was actually so much earlier. 3 and that 4th disc. And are we like 3 for 3 or 4 for 4 or something in those last Blu-ray discs or something? I don't know. Oof. So that was actually quite a few anime. I knew this week would be big, but here we go. This week's anime DVD collection update. Alright, I guess I want to try and make this fast. Last week I actually forgot to talk about having watched One Piece. Specifically Season 8 Voyage 3. This goes to episode 491. Reading it off the back, so I'm cheating a little bit there, right? But let's see, what can I say about it? I think it was actually a really good example of kind of what makes One Piece good. You get a really interesting mix of expected and unexpected. It's maybe not necessarily the most narratively complex thing out there, but at the same time, it's really good at keeping you unsure, guessing, wanting to see what's going to happen, because you never know what the show's going to throw at you. And a part of that is that it has very little limitations, which means sometimes you'll get an interesting mix of this thing looks lame, but somehow it's really cool. I think the Cow Minotaur may be a kind of a good embodiment of that sort of idea, maybe. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen after this, because Funimation was noting that episode 492 is technically a side story crossover with Toriko. You know, also made by these people in Shonen Jump, and about the Food Age instead of the Pirate Age. And I guess I need to figure out what I'm going to do there, because it almost sounds like Funimation isn't going to have it. And I guess I determined that Funimation might have had Toriko, but that one didn't continue, which is unfortunate, because it's kind of like Gintama, and that Gintama really should keep going, you know. I really wish those DVDs were still coming out. That one would be a good series to try and watch a whole lot of. But all that aside, One Piece, I'm continuing to actually enjoy it quite a bit. Next up, I guess I decided after last week's update I wanted to watch Maria the Virgin Witch, because, like I said, it's a very confusing DVD. It doesn't seem like it's all that important to say Virgin Witch in there, other than to try and do a sex sell sort of thing, but at the same time, like I mentioned before, the front of this, you can see she's the only one that looks like it. All the characters in the background look like a pretty good medieval piece, and it kind of was that. The fact that she's a virgin is, I think, important, not necessarily because, you know, you need to have that sort of thing in the show, but kind of important because it declares her relationship with her similarly virgin-y love interest. You know, because they're both virgins and they're both awkward about it, and at the same time, because a plot element gets tied into that. It doesn't need to be, but at the same time, it makes a kind of stupid sense. And as for the show itself, it kind of reminds me a bit of a combination of theological, philosophical arguments. Nothing big. These are things that people have talked about many, many times before. You probably talked about them with your friends, either for shits and giggles or just because. But this would be things like evil and intentions and stuff like that. And the entire idea that, it's the combination of ideas about God letting bad things happen to people, and whether or not you can say somebody is bad just because they're not doing things the way you think they ought to be doing them. In other words, good intentions, of course, don't necessarily mean that you're doing something good, but at the same time, enough good intentions and actually doing stuff are, and there's this weird thing where it's just like, because she's a witch, supposedly she's unduly influencing the course of humanity, which is kind of a retarded argument from the point of view that you could argue the same thing about people who are the sources of large collections of money. You know, nobles and lords and stuff probably are affecting the war she's trying to fight just as much as she is. The only difference is she was ostensibly... I always thought that she had the right idea. I mean, she wasn't like kill people, and then people are like shifting blame. You know, people do this all the time. Like in a car, they think a car moving slow on the road is dangerous, when really the problem is that other people will react suddenly to it or not. You know, they won't keep pace, they won't keep distance and stuff, when really it's not that they're being dangerous. They're being a public nuisance, but the danger comes from other people who think, I'm in a car, I should be allowed to keep going as fast as I want, who swerve into the other lane and hit somebody. It's that person who swerves who's not really being safe. And you could also argue that if there's not enough space for people to change lanes, that's also kind of dangerous, but less because people needing to change lanes and more because like that one has a combination. I don't know, I'm going on, and I'm pretty sure plenty of y'all are going to disagree with those thoughts, but the point is there's a kind of shifting of blame going on there, where if you talk about going around a corner and finding a car stopped and crashing into them, that actually indicates less that the car was a hazard, more that you weren't going a good speed. Now maybe you were going the speed limit as it was labeled, and that means the speed limit is badly labeled or chosen or something like that, but people don't understand this concept that you need to be prepared in a car to see something around a corner and maybe not hit it. I see it all the time. People who are like, oh, the road's pretty much empty, so I'm just going to go 65, 70, and 55. And they're going around a corner with a cliff where the people making the right turn at the driveway coming out of that can't see them. And that's a really good example where there are some angles there where that person going 70 is going to have to stop, or they think they get to keep going, they try to change lanes, and that person they didn't notice is there. You know, the point is, the car itself is dangerous when you're not naturally operating it, and I keep going on that damn tangent. So much so that I forgot why I was trying to say that here, I guess. Oh, the pushing of blame stuff, because it's like there will be people who can't get the money from going to war and fighting people, and there's a question of whether or not that should be relevant. There's, oh, well, you saved the people of this one town, but what about that other town? What the fuck does that have to do with an individual trying their hardest to deal with the stuff in front of them? I don't know. But even though I guess I'm kind of harping on that because it kind of touches on some irritant points, but I think the show is smart enough not to dwell on those and make them, it made the show about them, but it also didn't drag the show down by really doing that. It became the conflict, and it actually handled it very well. Let's see, next anime, Mikagure School Suite, and I think I commented when I was looking at this from Studio, is that an A, Doga Kobo, who brought you Laughing Under the Clouds and Yuri Yuri. I kind of mentioned, oh, I guess this means it's going to have a strong homosexual undertones or overtones or something like that. And yeah, it's not being very subtle about it at all, because she's basically a, how's the best way to put it? I'm not sure if raging lesbian is necessarily the right term. I think that applies very well to the girl from Maria Holic, where she's very open and unleashed about it, really. So she's more like a lesbian unleashed, I suppose, who chooses school just because of the uniform and because there was a girl on the advertisement. It's just like, oh, I think I'm in love or something like that. I don't know the exact words or anything like that. Content-wise, it's been interesting because it's kind of been everywhere. It feels like one of those shows where nothing is necessarily sacred. It's not going anywhere dangerous, or risque or anything like that, but it is, it keeps going. It's like, I mean, part of me was thinking it's like South Park, except of course, obviously, it's not anywhere near as crass as South Park. And there's some crassness that goes in here. Itty Bitty Titty Committee, that's always a fun one. But, I don't know. You know, it's weird. It just, stuff just kind of happens. It's not letting itself get tied down on, oh, well, we have to make sure that we're teaching some sort of moral message or something like this. Men can't hit women, that's why we have this anime full of women hitting men for some stupid reason. Not everybody seems to be hitting everybody in this show. Sometimes it's part of action, sometimes it's part of slapstick. And you can kind of tell that because the show's just dishing it out to everyone, it's weird, but it doesn't feel stupid. Now, content-wise, it's really hard to say if it definitely has a pull. I would say it's definitely amusing. I kind of like the humor. Okay, the action when it shows up is actually pretty neat when it happens. Observations can be kind of amusing. Nothing strikes a, oh, this is a must-watch show, but it's been very nice. Let's see, I guess I pulled this out because technically it wasn't pulled out, it was on the pile over there, but the friend I've been watching stuff with, we rewatched Play the Magic Madoka Magica Movie 3. Usually I don't talk too much about my one-off watchings, but it was a fascinating watching session because we began with this because, you know, if he doesn't come with his mom, then we're exploring anime that's deeper into anime territory instead of trying to break her out of her shell and, you know, try to explore stuff on her own, which of course she won't do because, you know, she's, well, I guess you never know. But she's actually just a more artist type, silent type. She'd probably do stuff on her own quite a bit more. So, whatever. That all is aside. Watching Play the Magic Madoka Magica Movie 3 Rebellion with said friend was pretty great. It's... I couldn't help but think that I had thoughts about it. But I'm wondering what I can even say here. It was just great to rewatch it. It was a good, strong movie, even though I've seen it a good number of times. Really love the music. I like how it leads you around. Like, based on where the series ended and how this movie began, the friend went through like a handful of ideas on what he thought the movie was doing that he verbalized, and you never know how many dozens he didn't verbalize, but it does a really good job of completely obliterating whatever you thought it was going to be. And you kind of have to appreciate it for that. It can be, especially since this guy's like, he might have done literature-related stuff in college, so he's very much trope-aware, and he can often see them setting some stuff up that a lot of people don't notice in advance. And watching him while he's been watching anime, I can kind of feel that he's actually really good about that. But we've chosen shows that are actually complex enough. I mean, Toradora is kind of complex enough where you can have these little ideas, but it maybe doesn't help to have the little idea because maybe it's actually ever so slightly different than you expected, and it goes interesting. It plays around with the narrative in a very good, maybe not necessarily unpredictable way, but in a way where it's not tied down by the tropes. And this probably shows up in that one with Taiga not being, oh, she always hits him every time she gets irritated. You know, sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't, sometimes she gets hit on the head herself because she did something stupid while trying to hit him, or something like that. You know, the show plays it complex. And then, of course, we started watching another show which also plays it complex, and that's Katanagatari. Now, he had already seen the first episode, so we started from episode 2, but from episode 2, it moves forward from an interesting way, where the first one kind of played with the narrative a little bit. The second one kind of starts hammering on that fourth wall a bit, where they're talking about stuff that kind of makes sense in their context, except it makes more sense as them referring to things to the audience. So it's a kind of meta, but at the same time it's slamming up against that fourth wall, but not actually breaking it per se. And then, of course, like I said, it does some things where it really deliberately plays with your interpretations of what you think should happen by giving you things where you know what's going to happen, but then when that thing happens, there's some mind-bogglingly horrifying twist to it. And it's great. We got 4 episodes in, and I guess that would have been where I would have wanted to go with that watching session, I guess. So next time it's just him. We should be able to finish it, maybe. 8 episodes at 40 minutes. Might be a little intense, but we might be able to. So, beyond that, obviously I've been reading The Golden Compass. I didn't pull the book out for this. I did finish it. Technically I finished The Golden Compass and I'm on the Subtle Knife. But before I went on to the Subtle Knife, I did want to check out the live-action Golden Compass movie, and no, I'd never checked it out, and I guess I'm kind of glad I didn't, because the story the book definitely does things a lot better. There's all these little things wrong with the movie, and some of them I do want to complain about, but at the same time I do want to give myself a chance to read the books, because like, one of the major thing about the story of The Golden Compass is it's almost told completely from the point of view of the main character. And that can be hard to adapt in the film, and I felt like the movie just did a really piss-poor job of it, because they cut away to other things way too much, and sometimes unnecessarily. There were a couple of order of events that I don't think makes sense to have changed, especially since it changes the reason why or how the main character got there, and how they handled it in the story was the same way they handled it, or in the book was the same way they handled it in the movie, but because the how of them getting there was different, it makes less sense that they're doing it, and there were just lots of mistakes like that. I think there might have been some design mistakes in terms of trying to make it a steampunk. Well, that might be one of those things where I have to think about it, or I have to read a bit more to see if maybe there were other indications that it was very steampunk, because it seemed more like 1920s sort of technology instead. I mean, one example is like in the movie, the aeronaut has a balloon thing with 2 balloons, and I'm like, well, did I not think of that right when I read it? Could this have been a difference in interpretation of the book where I just skip over some words or something like that? But no, when I returned to the Subtle Knife and they talk about that a little bit, it said he was refilling the bag, as in like there was only one bag, and it's like, yeah, it sounds more hot air balloonish like I would have thought. And then I guess there were other reasons you could think that wasn't quite right, and I think as neat of an idea as that might have been, it might have been a bit of a mistake, because it's a little distracting. Maybe some of the Golden Compass scenes are a little distracting. There's bits and pieces of information. They changed where information is coming from. Sometimes it was fine, sometimes it wasn't. Some of the character actions seem contrary to not only what the character would do, but what the universe would do. So it seems more like something, but you know, like that one's an example where Miss Coulter, in one scene in the movie, slapped her monkey because the monkey was trying to distract her from the thing. Now, the monkey is her demon, of course, and that's D-A-E-M-O-N, you know, weird spelling, so you shouldn't think evil thing, even though it sounds like evil thing. It's supposed to be thought-provoking, right? And like I said, since the book is mostly told from the point of view of the main character, Lyra, she would never have seen that, so that wouldn't have been there. So maybe they were actually referencing something from another book. It's always possible, because with the second book, it's kind of interesting because they've expanded the narrative such that it takes place from different characters' views, probably because the events of the world have gotten bigger, but at the same time, I can't help but think it just doesn't make sense, because these demons are actually pretty much external manifestations of a person's soul. Things that happen to the demon, you know, pain felt by the demon is felt by the person, because, you know, it's pain of the soul or something like that. And Miss Coulter hitting her own monkey would be like hitting herself in the head. And it seems both contrary to her personality and to the entire idea of how
people would interact with their demons in this world anyways. It seemed to me more like an attempt to create a what is called a kick the dog moment, although in this case it was a little golden monkey. But the idea is, it looked more like they were trying to establish nothing about her personality, but rather instead, you know, like I mean, like usually the interactions between demons and with demons are kind of a reflection of the inner character of the characters, and it didn't seem like it was that so much as it was, oh look, she's mean to little animals. That means she's a bad guy. Remember, she's a bad guy. Some things they could have conveyed better, such as passage of time, I think. It's also possible that I might have not paid as close attention to certain parts, but it's like, I don't know. There were a ton of missed opportunities, the last of which being, I think if they had given it another 15 minutes, even with their cutting up of things and mixing them around and changing things and forgetting things and doing things that doesn't seem appropriate, they could have still ended where the book did, which wouldn't have felt completed at the end, but it would have felt like an appropriate stopping point just because it's a transitionary period sort of thing. You feel like you're transitioning into something different if you stop where the book does as opposed to where the movie does, which is not quite at... And how would they even do that? Because they mixed up those scenes. Maybe they just mixed things up too much and couldn't actually get to the ending of the book. I don't know. So, yeah, it's definitely a bit of a miss movie-wise, but oh well, not everything can be hits, and I think that covers everything. I did make a Mario Maker level, but I don't think that's very notable. It was just playing around with the ghost house idea. I think one Japanese person tried it and quit immediately. But yeah, that's not a problem. That's not notable. I guess that's everything. I can't think of anything else I should really talk about, which means I probably forgot something, but I guess we'll find out next week. Y'all, have a nice one.